Imagine you're a vassal king in the ancient Near East. Every year you swear an oath of loyalty to the Assyrian emperor. You must love him, listen to his voice, and never follow anyone who tells you otherwise. Now open Deuteronomy. Love the Lord your God. Listen to his voice. Follow no other gods. The language is nearly identical. That's not a coincidence. Deuteronomy borrows the vocabulary of Assyrian imperial treaties and redirects every oath from the emperor to God. It's a religious text built on the architecture of political rebellion. To understand how this happened, we need to go back to a construction project in 622 BCE. King Josiah of Judah orders repairs to the temple in Jerusalem. During the work, the high priest Hilkiah makes a stunning announcement. I have found the scroll of the Torah in the house of the Lord. When the scroll is read aloud to Josiah, he tears his robes in distress. The nation has not been following what this scroll commands. This scene comes from 2 Kings chapter 22. Here's the critical linguistic clue. The phrase scroll of the Torah doesn't appear anywhere in Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, or Numbers. It appears in Deuteronomy chapter 17. That phrase is a fingerprint linking the discovered scroll to Deuteronomy. So what did this scroll say? Look at what Josiah did next and compare it to Deuteronomy's commands. Deuteronomy demands worship only at the place God chooses. Josiah centralized all sacrifice in Jerusalem. Deuteronomy orders the destruction of high places, rural shrines where local priests had offered sacrifices for centuries. Josiah demolished them throughout Judah. Deuteronomy commands the purging of foreign gods. Josiah removed Baal and Asherah vessels from the temple and eliminated Assyrian astral worship. The term cult here means the system of worship, not the modern pejorative sense. Every reform matches a specific command in Deuteronomy. The most striking reform involves Passover. In Exodus chapter 12, Passover is a household celebration. Families slaughter a lamb at home. Deuteronomy transforms it into a national pilgrimage festival at the central sanctuary. And 2 Kings chapter 23 records that Josiah held exactly this kind of Passover in Jerusalem, then adds a remarkable note: no such Passover had been kept since the days of the judges. This wasn't a return to ancient practice, it was an innovation. Cult centralization, restricting all legitimate worship to one sanctuary, was a radical new policy, not a restoration of something old. If this scroll is Deuteronomy, where did it come from? The answer takes us north to a kingdom that no longer existed. Deuteronomy's legal core shares deep affinities with the prophet Hosea and the East source, one of the earlier literary strands in the Torah associated with the northern kingdom. The north was home to Elijah, Elisha, and fierce movements demanding exclusive loyalty to Yahweh. In 722 BCE, the Assyrian Empire destroyed the northern kingdom of Israel. Refugees fled south to Judah, carrying their traditions with them. Some scrolls were likely deposited in the Jerusalem temple, where they sat for roughly a century until Josiah's workers found them during renovations. Now here's where it gets interesting. Deuteronomy didn't just borrow from Israelite tradition, it borrowed from the enemy. In the ancient Near East, powerful empires imposed vassal treaties on conquered kingdoms. A vassal treaty was a loyalty agreement enforced by curses: obey the emperor or face destruction. The most important example is Esarhaddon Succession Treaty from around 672 BCE, where the Assyrian emperor demanded that all vassal states swear loyalty to his son, Ashurbanipal. This treaty follows a clear structure: historical prologue, stipulations detailing required behavior, and a long series of curses for disobedience. Deuteronomy follows the same architecture: prologue, laws, curses. The structural parallel is unmistakable. The parallels go far beyond structure. The specific language overlaps in ways that can't be coincidental. The Assyrian treaty commands, "You shall love Ashurbanipal as you love yourselves." Deuteronomy commands, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and might." The treaty says, listen to the voice of the crown prince. Deuteronomy says, listen to the voice of the Lord your God. The treaty warns, go after no other king. Deuteronomy warns, go after no other gods. The treaty demands, report anyone, brother, son, friend, who speaks sedition. Deuteronomy chapter 13 says, if your brother, son, or friend entices you to serve other gods, do not yield. Same structure, same language, different sovereign. The curse sequences provide the strongest evidence of direct literary dependence. Esarhaddon's treaty curses say, may the sky above you be bronze. Deuteronomy 28 says, the sky over your head shall be bronze. The treaty, may the earth beneath you be iron. Deuteronomy, the earth under you shall be iron. The treaty curses invoke darkness, famine, and cannibalism, eating the flesh of your own children. Deuteronomy 28 contains the same curses in remarkably similar sequence, but Deuteronomy adds something the Assyrian treaty never includes: blessings. 14 verses of blessings before the curses begin. That addition is a theological innovation within a borrowed political form. So Deuteronomy is using Assyrian language, but it's not copying it, it's hijacking it. Judah was an Assyrian vassal. Assyrian religious symbols stood inside the temple itself. Deuteronomy takes the very document of subjugation, the vassal treaty, and repurposes it. A counter treaty, a document that adopts the form and language of an imperial treaty, but redirects its loyalty demands toward a different sovereign. Every oath that once bound Judah to the Assyrian emperor now binds Israel to God. Political submission becomes theological liberation. Some object that these parallels are just coincidence. Common ancient Near Eastern language, but the evidence goes beyond shared cultural atmosphere. Scholar Moshe Weinfeld documented identical phrases, curse sequences in the same order, and a matching structural architecture. This level of correspondence points to direct literary engagement with the Assyrian treaty tradition. Others ask, doesn't this undermine Deuteronomy's religious authority? The text's own literary setting places Moses speaking before Israel enters Canaan. The scholarly question is different. When and why did this text take its current form? Understanding its 7th century political context doesn't diminish its theology. It reveals how ancient Israelites forged radical claims using the tools of their world. Step back and see what's happening. 3 historical currents converge into a single extraordinary document. First, a northern prophetic tradition. In the 8th century BCE, Yahweh only circles in the northern kingdom, connected to Hosea, Elijah, Elisha, compose a legal core demanding exclusive loyalty to God. Second, an Assyrian imperial crisis. In 722 BCE, Assyria destroys the northern kingdom. Refugees carry their traditions south. Judah becomes a vassal state with Assyrian religious symbols in its own temple. Third, Josiah's political moment. By 622 BCE, Assyrian power is crumbling. A young king discovers a scroll, and it gives him exactly what he needs: a divine mandate to centralize power, purge foreign influence, and declare independence. Deuteronomy emerges at the intersection of all 3, a counter treaty for national and theological liberation. Deuteronomy took the language of empire and turned it into the language of liberation. The same words that once bound the people to a foreign king now bound them to their God.